Hi, what inspired you to pick up a violin and learn it? What inspired me? Basically, Brother Bear started with playing the erhu, but I was too young to know about that. But apparently his erhu teacher was like, his hands are kind of weird, so I don't want to teach him. I don't know what that means. But after that, he switched to violin. So for as long as I could remember, Brother Bear played violin. And I thought violin sounded really nice. So I was like, I want to learn violin. That's basically it. That's basically it. I wanted to learn it for a good 2 years before the teacher would let me. But he was like, you gotta learn how to read the notes first. Learn some piano first. So I was like, okay. So I learned piano for 2-3 years. And then he was like, okay, I'll teach you now. And then a year later, I quit piano. Wholesome. It is wholesome, I guess. A lot of things in my life are just following the footsteps of someone before me. Sometimes I wonder if I have free will or not. At this point, I think I do, but a lot of my decisions are based off of other people's inspiration, which is not a bad thing. But yeah, that was literally the entire reason why I started learning violin. I don't think I've heard anyone playing violin. Well, that's untrue. He was in orchestra, so I went to the concerts. Oh, another one right after. Why/when did you start playing the violin? The why, I just said. When? It was a while ago, around 12 years ago. But I took a few years of break in between. The first break was because my teacher was too old and he had a disease. So he had to take a break. So I didn't have a teacher for a bit. And then I spent some time jumping between some teachers, but I didn't like them. But then the other teacher came back for a bit, which was 2 years later. I don't really know. I don't really remember. But I remember him being surprised. I remember him being surprised at my sound. So it's not like I couldn't do anything in that time. But then he had to take a break again. I feel like by now he has passed away because he was very old. But maybe he's still, I don't really know. I don't remember how long my break after that was. I had a good amount of breaks. And then afterwards, after I stopped that break, I played for a bit, and then I had another break from burnout when I was 15, which lasted about a year or so. And then I went back, and then after that, a few years, a couple years, I started getting much better. But yeah, it's been pretty on and off. It's not really a straight line. It absolutely makes me day. It absolutely makes me day when your violin streams are on. I build log homes, but it's always been a dream to learn to play. You build log homes, maybe you should get an apprenticeship with a violin maker. You can build violins instead. I think you can do it. You can even get a really cheap violin to learn on. I dunk on cheap instruments a lot. Whatever you can afford is better than nothing. But if you can't afford better than $100 Amazon violins, please do so. If you want to learn an instrument, I say go for it. I say go for it. That's a high skill craftsman job. I bet there's a list a mile long. I don't know. I feel like these days there's not really many people that want to do that, right? I don't know that many people. Oh, at least maybe it's because of the area I grew up in, but I've never met anyone that's when I grow up, I want to make violins. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. You'll sound just as bad when you on an expensive instrument compared to a cheap one. I mean, that is true, but if you have a better instrument, it'll be easier. In my opinion, it'll be easier to progress because as you go on, it'll sound better. And actually, cheaper instruments are sometimes harder to play on. It depends. There's a middle ground. There's very cheap instruments, quite hard to play on. Middle ground instruments, pretty easy to play on. And then high-end instruments circle around back to being hard to play on. In a different way, though. Like the cheap instruments, it's very hard to keep the tone and keep it in tune. A lot of the times the notes bend for some reason and it's not very consistent, so you just end up sounding like ass. So if you had a slightly better instrument, it would sound better and you'd probably hate yourself less. But if that's all you could get at the time, is better than nothing.
My fellow brothers, in the face of our common dangers, in this winter of our hardship, remember these timeless words, as we can.